you'd asked me 5 years ago, would you ever live in India? I wouldn't even consider, I wouldn't even thought. When I went to school, we didn't learn about Indian history. We didn't learn about the things we did in India. All we were shown was there's a map of the world. Half of it's pink. That was British. That was ours. We had this great empire. Something we were supposed to be proud of. So we never learned about the reality, what the British Empire did.
So when you came to India, how was your first week?
And Mumbai, what's the word? Just chaos. And even just a taxi drive from the airport to where I was staying. I thought I was going to die. So for 2 months, I didn't get any work, and my money was going down, my savings were going down.
In which movies you have worked?
Jawan, Khufiya, Conjuring Kanyappa, Oh yeah, the Kerela Story. Yes, so that's the first film that released. I stole a pair of socks, and I stole under vest. I'm a good boy.
You are.
Not like my ancestors. I would be living on the edge of my seat all the time, like, what's happening now? What's happening now? What's happening now? What's happening now?
India is not for beginners.
It's not for beginners, in no way. To go in the restaurant, there's a line, and then the waiter comes out and goes, oh, yeah, you come in. I'm like, no, there's people in front of me. But they treat me better. Wow. The problem was, I had the only female. There were all these other guys. 8 other horses, they were all men, and they were all horny. They all wanted to get the leg over on my horse. They started going rape against my horse. I'm like, that ain't happening. Whatever. So hey
SlowTalkers, welcome back to our channel, and our today's guest is Benedict Garrett, who came from England to India to pursue his Bollywood career. In such a short period, he had already worked in so many great films like Jawan, Kereal Story, etc. This is my second podcast, and I think अब तक का सबसे amazing था ये. Bendy is such a great and humble guy. And I think I have never met such a guy who have such a great humor. यहाँ से मुझे बहुत कुछ सीखने को मिला, and I can definitely say कि आपको भी बहुत कुछ जानने को मिलेगा कि एक इंग्लैंड एंड बॉलीवुड के बीच का डिफरेंस क्या है. So let's shoot. So hey Bendy, welcome to our channel. आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है हमारे चैनल पे.
बहुत धन्यवाद, Ankit. Thank you very much for inviting me here to talk to you. I feel very honored.
I should thank you, Bendy, for like.
You should.
Yes. Okay. So we all know that you're working in Bollywood right now. So what initially attracted you to Bollywood?
Good question, because if you'd asked me 5 years ago, would you ever live in India? I wouldn't even consider, I wouldn't even thought that would be where my life was going. I mean, as a child, I didn't really have very much exposure to India. There was the morning, on a Saturday morning, we had 4 television channels, and on one of them they would show Indian films, right? Until I was about 10. And then they went on satellite TV, so all the British Indians would watch it on there. So I didn't really know much about Bollywood most of my life. But I had that exposure, so I was very curious about India. Then when I was a teacher in London later on in my life, about 70% of my students in London, I was a teacher in London, about 70% of my students were either Indian or Pakistani or Bangladeshi or Sri Lankan, and the Indians mostly Gujaratis.
Which subject you teach in England?
What subject did I teach? I taught citizenship and personal, social and health education. I was the head of the department, and then I also taught politics to the older students. So that being around so many young Indian kids exposed me a lot to the music, because they would play a lot of Bollywood music at the student parties, for example. But I'd always done acting my whole life, right? And it was only in the last few years, so I was married and my marriage was beginning to fall apart, and I was considering my life. I got to my 40s. I was probably going through what they say is a midlife crisis, where you get to a point in your life, so what am I doing with my life? Where's my life going? And I'd always loved acting, but I'd never done it as a full-time job. I'd done it while having other jobs, which is what a lot of actors, particularly in London or in Los Angeles, have to do because it's so bloody expensive to live. But then I saw an agent had an advert looking for more British and American actors here in Mumbai. And at the same time, I'd become friends with an Indian family online. So they were kind of reigniting my curiosity and interest in India and wanting to know more about India. And then there was this opportunity, and I thought, well, I thought there probably aren't that many European actors in Mumbai. And so when there are roles that are needed, I probably stand a higher chance, mathematically speaking.
Yes.
And I'm an actor because I want to act, I want to be working. I don't want to be serving pizzas most of my life, I want to actually work. So I thought there was going to be more opportunity here in India. And that's why I thought, let's
try in India.
I sold everything. I got rid of everything I owned. I left everything apart from a few clothes. And I came to India. And it's like, I have to make this work.
Okay.
I have to make this work because it doesn't. I've lost everything. And I have to go back to Europe.
So your family still lives in England right now?
My mum and dad are still in England, in my
Okay.
little village. My brother lives in Hong Kong. He's got a daughter there. He's lived there for many years. And then my ex-wife and my son live in the Netherlands.
Okay. So when you came to India, how was your first week?
Well, I think to say a culture shock would be something of an understatement. And you have to remember, I came from the Netherlands.
Yes.
And the Netherlands is like one of the countries that always ranks in like the top 10 of like the highest standard of living. Everything is so organized, everything's so clean and smart, and the roads are smooth, like the best roads in the world. They're so smooth, no potholes. Everyone sticks to the rules. The motorway, people stick in the lanes. If they want to overtake, they go to the right or the left, and then they overtake and they go back into their lane. Everyone's generally very law abiding, right? So I go from the Netherlands and I come to Mumbai. And Mumbai, what's the word? Jagar. Yeah? Just chaos. And even just a taxi drive from the airport to where I was staying, I was going to die.
Oh my God.
I thought, oh my God, what have I let myself in?
It's all messy here.
It's just, well, they're not. I mean, it's a big city. There's
Yes.
going to be. I remember when I was younger, going to London. London was very messy and smelly. Yeah, Mumbai is a very messy city, but it's got a very high population density.
Yes.
There's a huge amount of people. It has the sanitation system is not as well organized as in some other places. So there's a reason why there's a lot of mess. But it's all part of the chaos of Mumbai, which used to stress me out. But now I like the chaos now.
I understand.
I miss the chaos. But yeah, so that my first week, and then when I arrived where I was going to be living for the first month, and I was like, oh my goodness, what have I let myself in for? Because I come from a little village in England, and my parents have quite, we've got a few houses and quite a big house, and I had my own bedroom, and it's all very comfortable. So I'm used to that, and I knew coming to India things were going to be different. But I guess when you're there and you're surrounded with the heat, the smells, the sights, all the noises going on, it's when you're there, it's like, oh my goodness. But I quickly got used to it, and it quickly became home.
So then you came to the Mumbai, and after that, how was the experience in Bollywood?
Well, so it took me a little while to actually land some work. So, as an actor, you have to audition.
Yes.
And particularly since COVID, people tended to do video auditions, so you'd record your audition. So most of my auditions I was recording, or I'd have to go and do audition. Normally it's in like Vesolva area normally.
Let me ask you one thing. You came in which year exactly?
2022, right at the beginning. In
January. When Corona ended.
Yeah, the flights were starting again. The flights were still quite strict, but they were beginning. So I came then. So for 2 months I didn't get any work. And my money was going down, my savings were going down. I was like, oh gosh. And then my agent was like, okay, you've been booked for this, and then I got something else. And then so the ball was, slowly beginning to roll. So by April, I went and did my very first shoot, which was just a small scene for a Netflix film. And I was quite nervous because I hadn't done acting for a couple of years. And also being in India, it's a whole new scene for me. I didn't know how it was going to go on set. So that was my introduction, sort of in the deep end. But it was fine, it was absolutely fine. I went on, did what I needed to do. The director gave a little bit of instructions. And
can you tell in which movies you have worked?
Which movies? The ones that have been released. So I guess the most well-known one is probably Jawan.
Jawan.
That film that I just talked about was Khufiya.
Okay.
on Netflix.
Okay.
I've done a Tamil film, so I've not just done Bollywood. I've done some Kollywood, a Tamil film called Conjuring Kanyappa.
Conjuring Kanyappa.
Kanyappa, it's a horror
Okay.
film, comedy horror. Ewatan Meriwatan just came out on Prime.
Okay.
Me Atalhu. And then I've done a couple of series like Rocket Boys 2 I've been in, and the Railwayman as well.
Even heard that you've worked in Kerela Story also.
Oh yeah, the Kerala Story. Yeah, so
Yes.
that was, do you know what, that was the first film that released,
Okay.
and it came out on May the 5th, which is my birthday.
Yes. Oh my
So my Bollywood career was launched on my birthday.
That's a good thing,
2022.
Bendy.
Yes, the Kerala Story, of course.
So Bendy, how was the experience working in England TV shows to Bollywood movies?
Well, I've not actually worked in many English TV shows. I did a few small roles in movies, and then a slightly bigger one. It was the last movie that I did, and I did a lot more theatre in England.
Okay.
And as I said before, I've never done that as a full-time job. So it's it's a very like Bollywood is very competitive, but I've been very fortunate in India to be able to be working pretty regularly and do a lot more. Are there any big differences between them? I suppose here in Bollywood, there's well, often you're always treated very well. I think sometimes that's often unfairly because they think because you're a foreigner they have to treat you. Sometimes they feel like they have to treat you better. And there are times when I say, no, you don't. You just calm down. It's okay. And they feel like they have to almost treat you like royalty. And there is the biggest problem is sometimes not being understood or fully understanding, because here in India, many people speak English, but just like American English is different to English, Indian English is different to English as well. So sometimes we don't always.
But it's easy to communicate.
Understand, but it's fine. Yeah, we get there.
Yes.
So I might need to ask them to clarify what they mean, or vice versa.
Bendy, can you share some memorable experience working in Bollywood?
Working in Bollywood, well, I've been very lucky to work with, very early on in my Bollywood career, to work with some quite big names.
Okay.
But I have to be honest though, because I didn't grow up with Bollywood, there's some of these names I didn't even know. And like, for example, one of the first people I worked with was Amitabh Bachchan.
Okay.
I did an advert with him. And before I did that, I'd never heard of him.
I've seen that.
I'd never heard of Amitabh Bachchan before. But in India, he's like the biggest name. He's like the king of Bollywood. I know who he is now, of course. But I did like a tooth.
I've seen your advertise.
It's my best acting.
Yeah.
So I worked with him. I worked with Kamal Hassan in a Tamil film as well. And then actually most of the productions, they're fairly well known people. I'm going to be working with a very big name tomorrow, who I can't tell you. So that's been very fortunate that I've moved quite quickly to work with some quite big names in the industry. And then also being able to travel to some great places. I've been to Manali a couple of times. I've been to Chennai. I've been to Hyderabad. I've been to Kyrgyzstan. Okay. I didn't even know where Kyrgyzstan was, but I flew there for 1 day of shoots.
Okay.
I had one line in one scene. Okay. They flew me all the way to Kyrgyzstan on business class. That was nice. So I've now been to Kyrgyzstan. So yeah, that's and then you stay in nice hotels. Usually, sometimes not so nice, but you stay in nice hotels. You can chill out. It's
so
nice.
You loved like.
I wouldn't pay for those. I'm a cheapskate. Other people pay for it.
You love being in Mumbai.
Well, and travel. Okay. I do love being in Mumbai.
Yes.
I feel at home in Mumbai.
Okay. So, by being in Bollywood, have you steal anything from production?
Do I have a face that looks like a thief? Is that why you're asking me this question?
It's just the question I wanted to ask.
Don't you think us Britishers have stolen enough from India?
They have stolen so many things from India, but have you?
Okay, let me be honest. I stole a pair of socks.
Okay, from where?
From the costume department. Okay. And I stole like an under vest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very bad, Bendy. This isn't good.
very bad. But I mean, I wanted to take home some of the costumes,
Okay.
apart from socks, and
Okay,
I've never done that. No.
Okay.
I'm a good boy,
You are.
not like my ancestors.
Okay. What uniqueness you find in working Bollywood compared to the England industry?
Well, I mean, I now have a lot more experience of working in Bollywood than any other industry. So my experience in England is far more in films anyway. It's far more limited. As I said, I've done more theatre. So what's unique about it in Bollywood? I don't think there is something. It's very hard to say that there's one common thing because different production teams are different to other production teams. You know, I've been on sets where they take ages. You're just waiting in your vanity for hours. And then I've been on other sets where like, okay, bang, 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 just scene after scene after scene. You go and get changed, get ready for the next scene, come back. You know, so there's just different styles. I suppose generally, however, what happens in India, like if I've got like, for example, I've got a shoot tomorrow, right? And I still don't know what time
Okay.
I'm supposed to be there. With most of my shoots, I never know what time, I never know even where I'm going until like about 9, 10, 11 o'clock the night before.
Okay.
And that used to stress me out, right? Or I wouldn't even get, if I'm supposed to fly to Chandigarh, I don't get my flight ticket until at 10 o'clock before, and I'm flying at 6 o'clock in the morning. I think the thing in India is, and it's not just to do with the film industry, but it happened is, again, Jagar. Everything is very last minute. When I was booked for a shoot in England, you know, I'd be booked weeks ahead. So on this date, this time, this location.
Okay.
You're given that information weeks beforehand, and it very, very, very rarely will change. So, you know, and we have diaries. I use diary, put everything in a diary. But in India, there's no point having a diary because things can just change within any time. So that is probably the now I'm used to it, but I used to, when I first arrived in India, and that used to happen, because it happens, I say, not just in the film industry, but life generally. I would be living on the edge of my seat all the time, like, what's happening now? What's happening now? What's happening now? What's happening now? And I couldn't sleep properly. But now I'm chilled out about it. That's the way it's done now. But that was stressful.
India is not for beginners.
It's not for beginners in no way. Absolutely not.
Okay, Wendy. Have you ever done theatre in India?
No, I've never done theatre. I'd love to do theatre again. It's been a long time since I've done theatre.
Okay.
It's very different.
Now you are a professional actor.
Huh.
So
you can be a professional theatre actor as well.
Okay. What you find a difference between the theatre and in real acting?
Oh, well, between theatre and film,
yeah.
You mean, generally?
Yes.
Yeah, there is, because I trained in theatre, one of the hardest things for me when I started doing film was not to move as much, particularly not to move my face as much. In theatre, you can be very expressive, you use your body, and depending on the performance.
And even louder.
And you're very loud, you project your voice because you're in a big area. Whereas in film, you have to behave much more naturally. Sometimes even less naturally than that for me, because I'm quite an expressive person anyway. Okay. Sometimes I just have to tone it down. Stop moving your eyebrows. Stop moving your, because the camera's getting everything, you know. So that was the hardest thing for me, just to tone everything down and behaving in quite a different way.
How do you think your background from England has influenced you to work in Bollywood?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. I think it's actually influenced me in a lot of ways. Because of I studied politics at university.
Yes.
So I was always very interested in like human rights and justice and that sort of stuff. And so part of my motivation for actually coming to India was because as a British person, I feel a certain sense of responsibility about the terrible things that were done in India by the British in the past, and being able to try and help in India to make things better.
Yes.
You know? And I feel that the fact I'm British, because a lot of the roles I play in films, about 50% of the time, I have to play what I call an arsehole British army officer, like a brigadier or a general or some kind of British officer. And usually they're not very nice people, right? And I think that there's a responsibility that comes with that, because you want to tell Because when I went to school, we didn't learn about Indian history. We didn't learn about the things we did in India. All we were shown was there's a map of the world. Half of it's pink. That was British. That was ours. We're this great empire. You know, something we were supposed to be proud of. So we never learned about the realities of what the British Empire did, not just in India, but all around the world, and the brutality and the selfishness and the greed of it. And I feel now that I have a responsibility to play these roles so that I can help India to tell her own story about her own past.
Okay.
And I want, not to show a sanitized version of the past. I want people to realize how the things that we did to each other and the British did to Indian people. So I feel a real sense of it as a British person. I don't feel a guilt. It wasn't me. It's not my fault. I can't change the past, but I can change the future. So I feel that responsibility as a British person.
Okay, Bendy. Did anyone tease you ever, like you're from British, your ancestors saluted us?
Thanks for reminding me. No. In fact, quite the opposite. And it always puzzles me. It confuses me, because usually I'm the one. I'll be speaking with an Indian and I'll talk about the things the British did, and they'll be like, "Oh no, we love it, British people, Britain, it's okay, that was the past, it's the history." And I'm saying, "Yeah, but you should hate us because we did this, and that, and they say, no, don't worry, it's fine, it's good now." No. So that's often what happens, and then actually people, I think, discriminate in a too much in a positive way. Like when I've been waiting in a restaurant, or to go in the restaurant, there's a line. And then the waiter comes out and goes, "Oh, yeah, you come in." I'm like, "No, there's people in front of me." But they treat me better. Phew. Why? Because maybe they think I'm going to pay more money or something or whatever.
Okay.
But, there's discrimination in that sense. Like if I'm going, I know people try and charge me more for the same thing. So when I've been into a shop, the Indian family I live with, they say, "Take us with you because we can negotiate, because you're Gora, because you're white, they're going to charge you more money." So there's that sense, but not discriminated or bullied in a nasty way.
Okay.
But I'm sure if tomorrow 1,000 people moved over, or Goras moved over from Britain, I don't think Indian people would like that very much. Just like there's a lot of racism in England against Indian people, for instance, because English people say, "Oh, there's all these Indians in here, they're taking their jobs," and there's a lot of racism because of that. Then it would probably have a negative effect.
Yes.
Here. But no, everybody's been absolutely
great with you,
friendly, lovely, and that's one thing I love about, particularly where I live in Mumbai. I don't live in the centre of Mumbai, and it has a real village feel to it. So many people know me. I feel like I've never felt more like I'm part of a community than I do living where I live now.
Okay. Would you advise any England living person, like how they can come and work in Bollywood?
No, because I don't want the competition. I don't want them getting my jobs. Why would I do that? No, you stay in England.
That's a good one.
No, I mean, there are people that I've tried to encourage, or people ask me questions. I want to come over maybe and do acting over there.
Okay.
My advice is, in terms of the work, I mean, there are opportunities. I think it's certainly easier if you're a man, because there's not so many roles for foreign or European women, unless you want to dance in the back of some dance video looking all sexy for some, Bhangra star. There's that. But in films, there are roles for women, but not so many. But with men, there's a lot of, British, because there's so many biopics now from, pre-independence time. But I'm also getting other roles, so there are other opportunities as well. And as I said to you before, people who are actors in London or Los Angeles, they would be lucky if, for example, my friend who lives here in Mumbai, he used to be a Hollywood actor. He said when he lived in Hollywood, in Los Angeles, he would maybe, if somebody was in 2 films per year, that was considered good. That was really good. They were succeeding. Well, in 2 years, I've now done 16 films. 16 films, 8 series, and 5 adverts in 2 years. If I was in London, there's nowhere near. There's no way I would get anywhere near that amount. So there is plenty of opportunity, but that also depends on you, because I'm aware that, well, firstly, I'm a white guy, I'm tall, I fit into this certain stereotype. I've got a different, my physique. There isn't much competition for the kind of roles I go for, or my look here in India. So I stand a better chance. But I'd rather be working and earning money than not. So.
But in like in England, people get more money.
So yeah, I mean, you can get more money. Unless, I mean, successful Bollywood actors get a huge amount of money, you know.
Okay.
Shah Rukh Khan is the most well-paid
Yes.
actor in the world, I think. But yeah, I think you can get paid more money. But this is the other thing, because I have so many Indians, not just within the acting field. They come up to me and they'll just meet me and they'll go, "Can you get me a job in your country?"
Okay.
Like I'm the immigration authority,
Okay.
and they go, "But I can make more money." And I say, "Well, you can make more money, but you'll spend more money as well."
Yes.
If you live in London, or if you live in, if you want to live in New York City, it's so expensive just to live in those places. So yeah, you might earn, so for example, a fairly good salary, normal salary is like 2 lakh maybe, like per month, but you'll spend half of that on rent, if you live in London at least, and then you've got to pay your electricity bill, which is 10, 20, 30,000 per month.
Okay.
Then you've got to pay your council tax, which is 10, 12, 13,000 per month. You've got to pay for, your other bills, your electricity, your gas. Yeah, so I already said electricity, but you may have you've got to pay for your petrol if you've got a car. That costs at least to fill up, I don't know what it is nowadays, 5, 6, 7,000 just to fill up your car petrol. So you earn more money, but you're going to spend it all as well.
People need to know this, that it's expensive though.
It's very expensive. Mumbai can be expensive. There are very expensive parts of Mumbai, like where Mr. Ambani lives, for example. But there are also parts of Mumbai which are much more reasonable, and then other costs are lower as well. Okay.
Have you ever need to learn new languages or skills while working in Bollywood?
Yeah, both actually. Languages. Well, I'm trying to learn Hindi anyway. But I up until recently, I hadn't had to say any lines in Hindi because my lines are almost always in English. There was one time I was going to, and then they cut the lines out, so I was really annoyed. I learned them. But I literally just done a film where there was a lot of. I played quite a big role, not the biggest roles, but quite a big role. And it starts off as an English language film, and it's a comedy, and then it switches to Hindi.
Okay.
So then we're speaking in Hindi, and there was quite a bit of dialogue for me anyway to learn in Hindi. But I did it, so I was pleased about that. And then skills, I was asked by my agent, this was to do a Marathi film. Okay. They said, do you know how to ride a horse? Okay. I said, not really. He said, have you ever been on a horse? I said, I said yes, but that was actually a lie. I have been. So I've been on a donkey when I was a child, and then on the Silver Beach, I've been on the horse. Okay. But there's a guy that leads the horse, right? Okay. Well, I said yes. And then it turns out I needed to actually, so I got the part. I've never ridden a horse before. So I went on YouTube looking up how to ride a horse. I'm like, okay, and they say it's fairly simple. And then I get there and I was like, I'm shitting bricks. I was like, oh my God, ride this horse. Dressed as a British, police officer, police from Prima. So I had to look stern riding this horse. I was absolutely terrified. So I got on the horse. I was like, I'm going to die. It's like the first day in India, I'm going to die. The horse is going to kick me off and whack me in the face with his hoof or something. But luckily, I remembered what the video had said, and the horse generally did what I needed. She was a bit slow. The problem was, I had the only female horse. There was all these other guys, 8 other horses, and they were all men. Okay. And they were all horny. They all wanted to get their leg over on my horse. There's going to be gang rape against my horse. I'm like, that ain't happening, But luckily, I survived to tell the story.
Okay.
Yeah, and I enjoyed it. I want to ride, and I had to do it for 2 days in a row, riding horses. So
you learned lots of experience here.
Yeah, I think was that. Oh, and I've had to do a lot more fighting scenes and shooting, and than I've done in previous.
And even in Tollywood, films. Like Tollywood movies are like too much shooting.
This is where you Indians make a mistake.
Okay.
Right. Tamil film industry is Hollywood. You know why? Because there's an area of Chennai which is called something like Columbatam, which is where all the studios are. So that's called Kollywood. Telugu is Tollywood. Yeah. Wow. So don't mix it up. Don't get it wrong. Right? Okay. Hollywood. Hollywood Tamil, Hollywood Telugu. Huh? And they're not Bollywood. Bollywood's completely separate. Anyway.
So Bendy, you are like, your age is around 43. Don't you think you have been so late for Bollywood?
Well, yeah, yes and no. In a way, yeah, I wish I'd come when I was younger, but I wouldn't be the same person that I am now when I was younger. You know, I wasn't as confident when I was younger, and I was also living my life in a different way, doing different things. You know, as you know, I was also married before, so I tried living the married life. And I wouldn't be where I am now in life to have the confidence or the courage to give everything up and come here and try it. So yeah, I sometimes look at younger people and I'm like, I look at you and I'm like, I'm jealous. You know, I wish I was your age again. But equally, I'm sort of happy about. I'm happy in my skin now. Not all the time. Sometimes I don't like myself, but I'm happy most of the time, and I'm very confident with who I am. And of course, we all have. I get nervous at times, of course. Every time I go on set, I get nervous, but I'm happy to be doing what I'm doing now.
So, like, if people are there in England who are like more aged and they want to work like now in Bollywood, they can come.
Again, I don't think you can say of a certain age. It depends on that person.
Okay.
It depends whether they need to do a bit of research, find out what kind of roles might be out there for them. But then they also need to research India. India's not for everybody.
Yes.
You've got to be a tough person. And I think that's another reason actually why you don't see that many foreigners here, is because they couldn't cope living here. I honestly think that a lot of people couldn't cope living in India because a lot of people in the West, they're too used to their, luxury this and luxury that and their creature comforts and, living a certain way, and they feel entitled, they feel like that's what why should I have to give that up? And coming to India, you can get all those things. You've got to make sure you're pretty successful to get those things, but your life is probably not going to be like that from the start. You've got to accept. And even if it is, you've got to accept. Rich people still have to travel on the same roads with the same potholes, with the same scooties going everywhere, and people driving on the wrong side of the road, and the cows in the way. You can't escape that, whether you're rich or not. So you still have to deal with a very different way of life, and it's tough. India is a tough place. Indians are very resilient people, but they're also very positive people.
Okay. So let me ask you some personal question, like how much you earn from Bollywood?
How much do I earn from Bollywood? You know what? No, I can't give you one word answer. First of all, I just have to say this because in India, people don't mind talking about money. In India, I've seen it. People will say, "Hi, my name's nice to meet you. How much do you earn?" It's like in England, you wouldn't even ask your own mother, your own father, your best friend. You would never ask what you earn.
Okay.
It's like one of the things. It's like at the dinner table. There's three things you don't talk about: politics, religion, and money. Right? Where in India, you talk almost about all of them. So it's very hard for me as a British person to openly talk about. But what I will say is, I started on in India you usually get paid per day that you're shooting, right? And my daily, unless you work out a deal, like the big stars, because it takes them months to film a film, they'll normally have a deal, often in crores. But as a normal working actor, you get paid per day. And I get paid, when I first started, I was on a certain daily rate, and over the 2 years, it's gradually gone up, and it's more than doubled now, where it started. So it moves up, depending on your success, depending on how good you are, how fast then you can ask for more money and say, well, I've done this film, I've done that film, So, yeah.
So, Bendy, what do you hope to contribute in Bollywood industry as an England-born professional?
Well, in a way, I just hope I can keep on doing what I'm doing, but hopefully with bigger roles, maybe. Just carrying on playing the roles that India needs and wants me to play in projects that I'm excited and happy to do. Of course, I don't do acting. There's some people that they do acting because they want to be famous. I don't kind of love acting.
Okay.
So it's not about fame, but it's about loving acting and doing roles I love and enjoy doing. And I particularly want to do more challenging. I love challenging roles. Roles that make you so scared every time you go on the camera to do them. You're so nervous, but you love that challenge. I really like the challenge. I like pushing myself. Otherwise, I stick in my comfort zone too much. So I want to be pushed. But I want to make myself available to anybody, any directors in India who need a Gora, then I'm available. Well, actually, check my diary. I'm not that available.
So Bendy, have you learned Hindi yet?
हाँ, थोड़ा.
सिर्फ
लेकिन
थोड़ा
मेरी हिंदी बहुत बुरा है.
बुरा है?
हाँ.
तो और क्या क्या तुमको आता है हिंदी में?
क्या चाहिए?
क्या चाहिए?
What do you want me to say?
Okay. So और कोई लैंग्वेज हिंदी के अलावा?
What?
Did you learn any other language?
Then Hindi. I can speak 5 languages.
Which one?
English, French, German, Spanish, and Dutch.
My God, that's a good thing. So thank you so much, Bendy, for coming here.
Well, I feel very honored. This has been my first
Podcast.
chat.
Podcast.
Chat. I was going to say interview. This is not an interview. It's a chat since I've been in India.
Okay.
And I've very much enjoyed it.
Me too. I
So
really
thank you very
enjoyed
much.
that you came here.
Can we hug?
We can obviously hug. Not in this, okay. So thank you so much guys यहाँ तक देखने के लिए. प्लीज चैनल को लाइक कीजिए, सब्सक्राइब कीजिए एंड जितना हो सके उतना शेयर कीजिए.